Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
You've just joined the Prepper Broadcasting Network, where we promote self-reliance and independence. The views and opinions expressed are strictly those of the host or their guests. Visit us in the interactive chat room at prepperbroadcasting.com.
Good evening, everyone. If you're a prepper, you're in the right place at the right time. This is the Prepping Academy, skirting the globe through miles of fiber optic cable at nearly the speed of light directly to you, with your hosts Forrest and Kyle. Coming to you from the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina, the information you get from the show could save your life. Whether you're a veteran, beginning prepper, or just curious, there is something here meant for you.
Hey guys, welcome to the Prepping Academy. I'm Forrest, and I'm by myself tonight, which is very scary. Tenderfoot is got a prior engagement, which we knew about that, so this is at no surprise to anyone. We're live. Hey, if you're on Blog Talk Radio, what you need to do is go to prepperbroadcasting.com. You can listen to it over there. There's also an interactive chat room that I'll be paying attention to tonight. And since there's no Tenderfoot, I can see some of the comments in the chat room already. Since there's no Tenderfoot, we will not be distracted by the chat room. He's yet to master that, which is hilarious. So it'll be just me. Tonight we have a special guest on tonight. And he's going to be calling in any second now. But again, this is the Prepping Academy. We are at preppingacademy.com. Go and subscribe to our newsletter. Subscribe to our podcast as well. If you're listening to us via podcast, we are live on Monday nights at 9 p.m. And so you can listen to us live or by podcast. It's a lot more fun live because we can interact in the chat room. I won't say I've mastered the chat room interaction, but I'm definitely better than Tenderfoot. But Tenderfoot's new, and I've been mediocre at this for over a year now. So anyway, well, tonight we have a special guest on with us tonight. He is a friend. He's a fellow member of the Carolina Preppers Network. He is an I'm reading his bio here. I can't even. It's hard to put the bio with him because I know him, but he lives nearby here in Charlotte. He's former U.S. Army medic. He's written several books, some books that I get pretty excited about. He's also an inventor. We're going to talk about his invention as well. But I think our G-Man in the studio, it says he's ready to go. Robert, are you with us?
I'm here.
Awesome, Robert. This is so weird. Usually we're sitting across the table having dinner, and now you're on the show. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, have you ever listened, though, seriously?
And you are? Who's this?
Yeah, have you ever listened to our show before?
Yes, I have.
Oh, you have? Oh, sweet. Robert, man, I appreciate it. So, Robert, my first question is, on your Facebook site, you have underneath your name, it says Worst Case Rob. What does that mean? Where did that come from? And is that like your name that you go by?
Well, I can usually poke holes in any scenario. I find the worst case in any possible outcome. I've I'm the glass half empty guy every time.
That is absolutely true. Because when I say something or when I do something, I always look to Rob to encourage me. Zero. It's hilarious. You're pretty sarcastic with your remarks too, but you're hilarious, and you don't. I think you realize that, but you are hilarious a lot of times. So worst case, Rob. So you look at everything in the worst case scenario. Great. So if you don't mind, we're going to get to talking about your books, but let's talk about Rob. Give us your history. You're in a U.S. military.
I went into the Army right out of high school. I was 17 when I went in. So, of course, Mom and Dad had to sign. I went in as a medic and was in the 101st and learned everything I could about being a medic. I wasn't a very good soldier because I am a smart aleck, as you pointed out.
Yeah.
So I didn't spend much time in the Army. But I got out, did a lot of different things, trucking, a lot of work in the warehouse industry, trucking industry. Now I manage several warehouses. Got into prepping and just went from there. I do a little bit of everything.
So what got you into prepping, and when?
Pretty much the whole worst case thing. I see the worst case in everything. Of course, I started reading about. Growing up during the Cold War and being in the Army during the Cold War, the Russians were always coming. They were always coming. So, I started reading books by Jerry Ahern called the Survivalist series, the original Survivalist series, not the new one. And it just went from there. It always seemed to be a good idea to be prepared.
And what years were that? What time did you? What age were you when you started thinking about this stuff? Probably for you birth, but realistically.
Right. Well, realistically, probably 18, 19 years old when I was in the Army, actually. So you figure, when the original Red Dawn first came out.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I remember seeing the movie theater at Fort Campbell, with 150 other soldiers cheering at the screen when the Russians lost at the end. And from there, it just snowballed.
Wow.
It was all about. Of course, in the beginning, it's always all about the guns. Guns and and where do you go from there? Back then, there weren't all the products there are now, so you try to adapt all the Army surplus stuff and. Being only 17 or 18, you have no money. So you try and get what you can find, and you accumulate it in your parents' basement until they tell you to get rid of it. And it just goes from there.
I remember when I first started thinking about this, I actually would, because there was this genre, it's kind of new, and the closest thing to it I could find was hiking equipment, and being stranded when you were hiking. So you read some books that kind of helped you kind of push you in this area, or did you read the books because you were already interested?
I was already interested in some of the old books, things like Alas Babylon back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Which was one of the original books about the end of the world and nuclear war and the aftermath, and then you start thinking about it and how you're going to survive. And, but back then, in the 80s, you go to the stores, everything's blaze orange and bright blue, and you go in the hiking stores and, not to disparage any of the hippies out there, and, all the hikers, they don't want to talk to soldiers. They weren't interested in survivalists. They thought we were weird. They thought we were extremists. They were all into getting back to nature, and they wouldn't think of carrying a gun into the woods. And it just didn't happen. The two didn't mesh. So,
right.
It just didn't work.
That's still true with a lot of homesteaders as well. I guess they came up through the hippie movement, but a lot of homesteaders still have the same attitude, and I think at least we know a few that are changing. So let me ask you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, I was gonna. So you're a writer. And we're gonna ask in a minute, how you blended the two. But how did you know you're a writer, and where did that passion come from?
Well, I'd always been a reader, from birth, basically. Actually, I still have the first book I ever read for fun in the 4th grade that I stole from the St. Patrick's Library. If any of the nuns are listening from St. Patrick's in Charlotte, I still got it. Guadalcanal Diary. I've still got it. But I've always read, and, I started writing for, basically therapy. And I just kept writing, and, the Kindle came along, and I just did some research on how easy it was to publish, and it just went from there. Amazon makes it so easy to publish. I just did it. And
right.
It's a hobby that doesn't cost anything.
Yeah. Well, so what gave you the mind, or when did it first cross your mind to write about this secret, because a lot of preppers like to not really tell others they're preppers, and so when you write about it, that kind of puts you out there. So what kind of led you to write your first book in this genre?
There are people out there right now. When I posted that I was going to be on the show tonight, there are people out there now who had no idea. When I put on my Facebook page that I was going to be on the program tonight, there are people out there who had no idea that I'm a prepper.
Oh, really?
And I'm sure they were shocked.
Oh, so you're coming out of the closet?
Yeah, officially. I mean, they I'm sure they knew I was a little bit off, and they've read some of my books, and they knew I was into guns and things like that. But now they know I'm completely off the deep end. So.
Well, if they've read your books, they have to know you're off the deep end, because your books are not. There's a lot of nice prepping books out there with good stories and with a good ending. Some of your books, I wouldn't put in that category.
No, not a lot of rainbows and unicorns in my books.
No, there's not.
Unless you're eating the unicorns at the end. No, that's just the way it goes.
Wow. Yeah, that's true, because I remember you handed me the first book, and the first book, if I remember here, is called Mouse to Feed, right? That's book one.
Mouse to Feed's the name of the series. It's the name of the overall series.
Okay,
and
Mouse.
Fewer's the first book in the series.
Right. And I got so jacked when I read that. You remember, I was jacked, wasn't I? And there's a reason. There's a reason, because not only was it, it wasn't. Again, a lot of prepper books are very nice. They don't go into detail. Not that I enjoy some of the stuff you put in here, but it was real. Some of the other books aren't as real as yours. I'll just be honest. And the other thing is, it happens in my dang neighborhood in Charlotte, or my own neighborhood. I mean, literally, the whole book happens within. Well, the first part of the first book happens within like 3 miles of my house, maybe 4. And it was just, the more I read it, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's my Harris Teeter. That's the YMCA. I go work. Well, okay, I don't work out, but I used to work out. And then there's this. I always talk about this this group of teenagers that are thugs that thought they ruled the world. I mean, it's if you do the mapping of how you have the book and where they are located, it's like they're coming from my actual neighborhood. It was really cool. I really enjoyed it, and again, your book has details in it that a lot of books don't have in this genre. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's more nuts and bolts. What people might actually do. Nobody's an expert at anything. A lot of the books out there, somebody has been prepping since birth, and they're super preppers, and nothing ever goes wrong. And in my books, it's a little more realistic. And I don't think in the first book prepping is ever even mentioned. It's
right.
just what people are doing to survive.
Right. It's more survival in the first book.
Exactly.
But, yeah. Yep. But like, for an example, most books in this genre the author would go, and he was shot, and and it glazed his head. I mean, you can't take that in a little bit more detail sometimes.
Yep.
It blew his knee out, and he could see his bone, and blood is just smeared on the airport, on the walkway concourse of the airport. I mean, you kind of get more into details, which is just shocking, but yet it's reality, like you said.
And things get infected, and in order for things to happen, I mean, my whole point about being in Charlotte when something like this would happen, because it all takes place in Charlotte, as you mentioned, enough people have to die quickly for some people to survive, because all these books about the EMP or whatever, there are 1 million people in Charlotte, and if the power just happens to go out, everyone die really quickly because there's just no food.
Right.
And everyone's going to start killing each other pretty quickly. But with something like in my books where there's a virus and kills off a bunch of people pretty quickly, you're going to kill off enough where there are enough resources remaining that some people will have a chance to survive. And I always thought that was really the only way to make it realistic, that enough where there'll be just enough people left.
Right.
If you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Sense. Yeah. Strong will survive, at least a small group. Hey, Robert, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
Hey, let's take a quick break.
Are you a prepper or homesteader looking to connect with like-minded people in your area? Looking to start your own preparedness group? Already have a group? Well, look no further than PrepperNet. PrepperNet is dedicated to personal responsibility, individual freedoms, and being self-reliant. PrepperNet has monthly meetings in over 100 cities where you can meet and learn with like-minded people in your area. PrepperNet, where preppers unite. Find us online at preppernet.com.
It shouldn't be all about outdoor survival. Think prospering outdoors. Prospering outdoors is more than just getting by. Prospering outdoors is about having the quality gear or supplies you want when you need it. From camping and hunting supplies to prepping and survival kits, you'll find it all at prosperingoutdoors.com. You don't have to search for that hard-to-find item. With over 35 categories to choose from, Prospering Outdoors has it or will find it. Save time and money. Surprise yourself with lower prices on quality brand names at Prospering Outdoors. If it's outdoors, hunting, camping, prepping, or surviving a horde of zombies, you will prosper with the quality you expect at the price you want. Visit prosperingoutdoors.com.
Hi, I'm Joe Alton, MD, also known as Dr. Bones of the award-winning survival medicine website doomandbloom.net, and co-author of the bestseller The Survival Medicine Handbook. As a medical doctor, I know how important it is to have knowledge, but you'll need supplies if you're going to save lives in a disaster. We've got an entire line of medical kits for every homestead, retreat, workplace, vehicle, church, school, just about any purpose you might imagine, and they're all put together by a real MD and nurse practitioner. Other kits are fine when the ambulance is on the way, but when you're the end of the line with regards to your family's well-being, you'll be a more effective medical asset with kits and supplies uniquely designed for tough times and packed in the USA. Prepare your family for any disaster with medical kits and supplies at store.doomandbloom.net. That's store.doomandbloom.net. Make medical kits by Dr. Bones and Nurse Amy a part of your medical storage. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, we're back here with Robert. Actually, you go by R.A. I'm going to try to pronounce your last name. Is it
Smith.
It's Smith. Is it Bratyanski?
It's
Is
close.
that correct?
It's Bratyanski.
Bratyanski. Okay, Bratyanski. Okay. And he's a member of the Carolina Preppers here in Charlotte. He's an author. He's written many books. We just kind of touched on the first one. He's also an inventor. Hey, how does that sound when I say that, inventor? I mean, because you just come up with this. You've had this idea, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you're an author and an inventor. Gosh, that puts you in some great company, huh?
I'm a Renaissance man.
A Renaissance man. So, okay, the first book was Fewer. Tell us about book 2 and 3 and kind of the setting, the scenario.
Progression is in Fewer, there's a plague. Everyone starts to die, and the main character and his group of friends have to survive the plague and move on from there. In the second book, which is called The Fingerless Hand, the main character and the survivors move to another place where they set up shop to survive for a while, and there are a group of bad guys who want to take what they have. And the world expands a little bit, and there are a couple of set-piece battles that it becomes a little more militaristic, and it turns some of my readers off, including my sister. She didn't like it at all. She liked it. It was a little smaller setting, to be honest. But it gets a little bit bigger, a lot more violent. I mean, not that the first book wasn't violent, but the second book gets really violent. There's a major plot twist, which upsets people. And the third book just gets really crazy. It's called Die in Place. And it kind of wraps up
that's
series.
A pick-me-up.
Yeah. The third book wraps it up. It leaves room for the books to go off in a different direction. I've kind of set it aside for the moment to work on some other books. But it's called Die in Place. I don't know if when you were in the Air Force, so I'll let you slide because my son's in the Air Force. But Die in Place, it refers to when we were in the infantry, when you're on maneuvers or in the woods and you get attacked by the bad guys, retreating is a pain. So instead of retreating, you just die in place. So you die in place. But that was the third book. It kind of gives you an idea. Things go poorly, and that's the end of the series, more or less. But I can pick it up down the road if I choose. But I hope people enjoy them. Some people seem to enjoy them.
So are you thinking about a new series or? And
I am.
Also, go ahead.
I am. I'm working on a series now. I spend my days on I-85, driving home or to work or home from work, and I'm working on a series about getting home after an EMP. I don't spend a lot of time worrying about the EMP. It's more about how to get home, how to get home from work and I-85 and traveling and what happens on the road.
So, you talk about your work from home, and because it takes you about 45 minutes, and so
every day
you sit there in traffic and you think about all the different scenarios, or if you have to foot at home, and that's kind of giving.
Exactly.
I know you've mentioned that many times, and
absolutely,
you're going through. The population around the road that you would be taking is very high. And so
it is. It's some of the worst neighborhoods in Charlotte.
Neighborhoods. Yeah.
Right. The riots in Charlotte started right down the road from my offices. I mean, on the street, on Old Concord Road in Charlotte. Last year, when the gentleman was shot by the police, and then the riots started, and it was an eye opener, and it's got me thinking about that. And so it got me pushed in that direction for those books. I mean, what would I have done if the riots had gotten worse or happened while I was actually at work?
Right. So do you have a plan, or is it we're going to be able to read that in a book one day?
Well, other than shooting my way out, we can read about it.
Okay. So you've got something in your mind, okay, and you're going to put that into a book form.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Also, you've written some short stories as well.
There are a few.
And go ahead, tell us about it.
Yeah, there are a few. I usually, something catches my eye or my ear when I'm driving. Something on the radio. Back before the inauguration, I picked up on. I thought something might happen during the inauguration, so I wrote a story about possibly some scuffles in Washington, which some occurred, just not on the scale that I wrote about. There's a short story called "The Brawl on the Mall," is one I wrote, and another one was about violence during the World Series, called Game 4, when the Cubs were in the World Series recently. So I write quickly, fairly quickly, and once I get an idea in my head, I tend to throw it down. It's topical stuff, and I'll publish it quickly. Another advantage of the Kindle. You just throw it out there. And I encourage anybody who had ever thought of writing anything, publish it. Just put it out there.
Yeah, except for people like myself, which can't write. But yeah, I read. Which one did I read? Your short story. I remember reading one, and it was
violent.
It was violent, very violent, very real. I mean, it was. I won't say it was difficult to read, but it was. Most books don't have the detail and the gore that yours has, which a lot of people love that. I mean, it shocked me when I was reading. I'm like, holy moly! And it was, but they were great books.
There's no tiptoeing around the subject.
In
my books.
Yeah, you go right after the sex thing too. There's no problem there either. You're just real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh goodness. So you got some books in mind about your trip home. So what has been the response from family and friends and people reading your books? I mean, have you got has the public embraced them, or are they saying some negative comment? What's going on? I mean, what are people saying about them?
They tend to like the books if they read them, which I haven't sold a lot. I mean, I'm not going to lie to people. I mean, once I get people to read them, they tend to enjoy them. It's hard to get sales. There's just so much content on Amazon. Unless you got to get the word out. People start reading them. But I mean, if most of my reviews are pretty good. But as you said, you read it, you enjoyed it. A lot of people don't prefer the violence. It's all personal taste. It really is. There's a lot of bad language. Bad language. But I grew up around truckers and soldiers. I write how people speak. That's just the way it is. Mm-hmm. My wife doesn't like the way I write because of all the language. She doesn't read my books because of that. She just doesn't. Which is probably a good thing, But my mother loves them, but she talks like a sailor anyway.
Okay.
But it's all personal preference. Some people love them, some people don't. But there's plenty of books out there for people who don't like my books.
Yeah, but your books are real. When you said that, that statement is so true. When you're in if you can imagine yourself in that environment, you tend to be more vivid on what would really truly happen than some other books, and I did appreciate that though.
Unfortunately, I tend to see the worst as a worst case Rob. That's me. I tend to see the worst in every situation, but I also see the worst in people. And you and I differ on a lot of things like that. But I'm gonna see the worst in everything. So if there's something in a book that can go wrong, it probably will.
Right.
It's hard for me. It's hard for me to write happy endings because it's hard for me to see it. So it's just the way it goes.
I'm going to send you one of my free copies of Power of Positive Thinking.
It'll probably get lost in the mail.
Oh my goodness. You are, I mean, that's so your personality anyway. So I'm not sure I've ever actually seen you laugh at one of my jokes either, which kind of bothers me. But anyway.
Have you told any?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, boom, you're still funny. Oh, Mr. Sarcastic. So, and then, in your books, do you have any characters that are real life characters that you've just changed the name, or is it totally just characters made up?
No, I make everyone up. I haven't pulled anyone from real life. I mean, other than mentioning someone who may be an actual person, celebrity or something who I may just mention. No, I haven't included anyone who's real.
Okay.
Now, I'm considering adding people from the Carolina Preppers Network in my new books if they would like to be included, just to add some local flavor.
Right.
About
Okay.
About getting home, and we can discuss that going forward.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds great. So, let me ask you a question, because
Sure.
you do go to a prepper group in Charlotte. A lot of people, it's hard for them to make that first step to just show up to a meeting of preppers. Was that easy for you?
No, because I'm not a very social person. I mean, I don't think I spoke to anybody for like the first 3 meetings. But I to be honest, I showed up for book material. I showed up just for research.
Uh-huh.
Seriously, I showed up for some research. And I just happened to see the meetup and went, and it went from there. I liked the people, had a good time, got some information. I don't remember what the first meetup was, but I think the second one was one of Ellie Mendel's
Yep.
ones, which are awesome.
Yep.
So she's always going to draw you back. So
Awesome.
I'm a firm believer.
And so, on the books, where can people get your books? And tell us if you got a website, Amazon. Tell us where they can get your books.
Amazon, just Amazon. Look for Amazon. Look up Fewer, Fewer, Fewer on Amazon. I'd say my name, but nobody would be able to spell it anyway. Amazon. Just look for Fewer or the Mouths to Feed series, and you can pull it up.
Yep. And the first book is Fewer. The second book is The Fingerless Hand, and the third book is Die in Place. Yeah.
And read them in order, or you won't know what's going on.
Yep. Now I noticed that, and you only see the 2 short stories that you wrote are on there. I've only seen 2 of them, but haven't you written 3?
Yeah. Oh, Softer Targets was the third one.
Yeah, Softer Targets and Brawl in the Mall. The other one about the
Game
baseball
4.
game is not. I'm not finding it on there, but it may be on there.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in there. Okay.
Yeah, Softer Targets is about. It's kind of like Bill Fortune's
Day of Wrath.
The one about Day of Wrath. It's kind of like that, but it's I was reading a stat about 500,000 school buses on the road every day with no security, and that got me thinking. Interesting.
Yeah, that Day of Wrath was definitely shook my world a little bit. And I haven't
Yep.
read Softer Targets, but I will read that. Is that Kindle or paperback or both?
The short stories are just for the Kindle or the Kindle
Okay.
app. You don't have to have a Kindle. You can just read it on your computer. Yeah, the full length books, the books are available in paperback, but the short stories are just for the Kindle or the Kindle app.
Gotcha. And so Robert, you're also an inventor.
Right.
So tell us about your invention, if you don't mind.
Okay, the invention is called the Mars Tactical Mount. Mars, M-A-R-S, like the planet. And Mars stands for the MOLLE Accessory Retention System. Now, what it is if you think about the MOLLE pouches like the soldiers wear on their vests.
Yep.
And what it is I needed a way to keep my concealed carry somewhere in the car other than on my belt when I was driving around, because I usually carry, appendix carry, and when I'm sitting, I'm too fat and it digs into my, into my side, and you can't carry it on your hip because you can't get to it because of the seatbelt. So I was trying to figure a way to mount it somewhere, and I came up with the dash, and I needed a way to mount it. So I had a MOLLE holster, which the MOLLE holsters attached to the MOLLE vests that the soldiers wear, or tactical guys are familiar with it. And I came up with a little clip made out of Kydex. Takes no time at all for me to manufacture. And I mount them all over my car, and I can mount pouches, holsters, you name it, anywhere, any flat surface. Using my clip, you can mount your holsters or pouches anywhere. And the idea just kind of came to me, and I was feeling good about it, so I went ahead and filed the paperwork, and I have a patent pending. I took it. Go ahead.
That is sweet. And so you did take it to a gun show. Is that where you were going? Because tell me how that went.
Went to Fayetteville last weekend before last, and I was showing it to a bunch of active duty troops, and there was a lot of interest. Made some sales. I was just, everyone just kind of looked at it, and then I would say, if you're riding in your Hummer, wouldn't you like to be able to mount spare magazine pouches on every flat surface in your vehicle? And they just kind of look at you and they say, yes, I would, actually. And that's pretty much the premise. You can mount stuff anywhere. And you see these MOLLE panels that people put on the backs of the seats in their cars.
Right.
And
yep.
You put all these pouches in the back seat of your car. In a lot of the smaller cars or trucks, no one can sit in the back seat. There's no room for them. But, with my little $2 clips, put these things everywhere. Door panels, the back of your car, anywhere. And if you want to take a look at them, you can go on Facebook, Mars 4 MOLLE, M-A-R-S, the number 4, MOLLE, M-O-L-L-E, and check it out. They're on there. And they don't cost much.
And you made these you pretty much making them yourself currently, is that correct?
I am. I'm making them all myself.
And they can they mount to any surface?
Any surface. A couple of screws. I can also mount them with Velcro if people choose. It's a more expensive option because you've got to get the Velcro and extra Kydex panels. I prefer to use the screws, but my car's got 200,000 miles on it, so I don't particularly care about putting screws in it. Other people don't want to do that. But, I find it very useful to carry all my extra gear, all my prepper stuff in the back of the car. You've seen how they mount.
Yes. You have them all over your car. I think that's mostly for demo, but you have them everywhere, front, back, side.
I have no demolition gear in my vehicle, none.
But you have the mounts everywhere in there, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do. Hey, Robert, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with more from Robert Brand. Let me say it, Bratyanski. Robert Bratyanski. We'll be right back.
Do not buy emergency food until you compare Legacy Food Storage. You already know you need an emergency food supply. Legacy wants to ensure that you get higher quality, longer shelf life, better tasting non-GMO freeze-dried food, and Legacy gives you up to double food for your money. There's a huge secret our competitors don't want you to know. Never compare food storage based on cost per serving, because serving sizes vary. Compare based on the weight of the food. Legacy gives up to double the food for your budget. Visit LegacyFoodStorage.com. That's LegacyFoodStorage.com. Use coupon code.
Do you have the ultimate wood-burning collapsible survival and camping stove? Stop looking. The Under 6 Elite Survival Stove by SurvivalStoveworks.com can cook a meal in under 6 minutes with just a few twigs and sticks and without all the smoke and black soot. The Under 6 Elite weighs under 6 pounds and can be assembled in under 1 minute. This survival stove is made in the USA by patriots and preppers like you with high-quality steel. The Under 6 Elite Stove with all the extras is also easy to store and transport in its own carrying case. It's on sale now with free shipping. See it in action and get yours now at SurvivalStoveworks.com. That's SurvivalStoveworks.com.
All right, we're back with Brad. Let me hang on. I'm going to get this right. Bratyanski.
There you go.
Robert Bratyanski. Awesome. He's an inventor, author. He invented the Mars Tactical Mount, and that's I saw that. Is that you using Etsy or where are you selling that from? I forgot. Etsy.
Yeah, Etsy, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is that the only place people can purchase them?
Right, you can get to them through my Facebook page. It all goes through Etsy.
Okay.
Contact me directly. Find me in Charlotte. You find me at the meetups. Avoid the shipping charges. See me at a gun show.
Got you. And you got different colors, I assume, and sizes?
Oh yeah, anywhere from 1 to 6 channels, which depending how many straps your pouches have on the back, the PAL straps. Will depend on how many channels you need. It's hard to describe on the radio, of course. You'll need to take a look at it. But, just imagine the straps that your pouch is attached with. That's how many channels you need. And pretty much any color you can think of with Kydex, we can manufacture. The main colors are black, coyote, or beige.
Okay. And when they are very reasonable in price. I'm looking at them now, and it's yes. And what's would you? Oh, someone in the chat room said, "Do not mount on your airbag." Would you agree with that?
I can attest. You do not want to mount on your airbag.
That would be bad, huh? So.
No. Probably a bad idea.
Okay. Where do you see this going, and do you have any other ideas as well?
Right now, I don't have any other ideas. I'm a complete blank. I'm drawing a blank. But ideally, some holster manufacturer would come to me and say, "I'd like to buy your idea from you," and right. I could retire, and we'd be done with it. But for now, I'll just keep making them and keep selling them, and I'll be happy with that.
Yeah, okay. Now, if someone comes through the show, I do get a commission, correct?
No, you do not.
Jeez, Louise. You just have no heart, Robert.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. So, on these, is there a weight limit that you can hang?
I've hung, hanging under my dash. I've hung. See, I haven't tested it, with actual physical weights. But I'm hanging fully loaded 9mm with 17-round mags. I've hung, fully loaded AK magazines along with 17-round, Glock magazines, double magazines. So I mean, it's getting pretty heavy. I'd probably say I wouldn't put more than 7 or 8 pounds, using 6 screws. And depending on what you're screwing it into, I mean, different panels on the car are different, clearly. And I'd love to say I would guarantee them 100%, but that'd be foolish.
Right.
I'm not gonna lie to people on the radio.
So
Use
what
your
I
best
like,
judgment.
what I like is it is using the Molly system is literally a quick snap and pull it out. I mean, it's not like it's it's sturdy enough you can actually just kind of pull the bottom and it will unsnap. Correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. So you don't even have to touch the actual the mount. You just kind of pull it, it unsnaps, you pull it up, and you're gone. I mean, it's ready to go.
Right.
So that's what I like about it.
Yeah, if you want to take the pouches with you, you're going somewhere, you can. They don't have to stay in the car. Of course, if you want, I've found after some experimentation, the way to get the pouches the tightest in the car is to attach the pouches to the mount as tight as you can, and then mount the mounts to the car. After the fact. That's the best way to get them as tight as possible to the vehicle. Some people, I had some people complaining that they were too loose for one reason or another, and a couple of old soldiers saying, they're hanging too loose. And my argument was, well, I'm not doing somersaults and rolling the car. They're not going to be flopping around. They're just hanging in the car.
Right.
It's the application. But if you want them super tight, and like on the display I have them on at the gun shows, which I have sitting here next to me, they're very tight because, of course, I attach them to the mount before I attach them to the display, so they're extremely tight. But if you want to remove them before you take at any given time out of the car, it's possible without any problem.
And these mounts can be used not only with a car, but also really anything you can actually screw a screw or a bolt into, correct?
Right. Yeah, I've got them all over my workshop also in at my house. Keeping my tools, keeping my extra stuff in. They're all over the place. So, because, I've got all kinds of these Molly pouches I've had over the years. So I've just got everything, all my stuff in my workshop are hanging in them.
And so you actually have a patent on this, correct?
I do.
Wow, that's crazy. I mean, did I ask you how you came up with this? I mean, it's so simple what you created, and you wonder why someone hasn't done it before.
And you wouldn't believe the number of guys at the gun show who just, they walk up and they're, how you are at the gun show. You're just walking up and down and looking at the tables, and guys would come up and they'd look down at the table and they'd look up at you and they just go, huh. And it's like one of those things, why didn't I think of that? Or, it's just so simple. It's almost silly how simple it is. And you're right. It's odd that nobody ever thought of it. But
right.
You do the patent search, and there's nothing like it out there. Nothing.
Very interesting. And so, because in my old office, in my desk, I had a magnetic thing that would hold my gun,
right.
and I didn't like it because if you turned the gun sideways, you couldn't grab it very well. If you did it hung it vertical, my knee would sometimes hit it and then knock the gun off.
Right.
And it would fall on the ground. I'm like, okay, that's not safe. And everybody goes, well, you should have moved it to the sides. Well, I'm a tall guy. My knees go from side to side underneath that desk. With this, you could actually, I could see mounting it in a holster that you could just slip in and out and it would protect.
Yep.
Seems like it would protect it even better than just hanging it from a magnet.
Right. And I've been seeing a lot of different things advertised with Velcro, putting a Velcro holster up underneath your dash. And I like the Velcro, but the problem is Velcro wears out. If you take Velcro on and off enough times, it's going to wear out. It gets the lint all over it, or the cat hair, or the dog hair, or whatever, and then you go over that speed bump and it drops off. I don't trust Velcro after a while, and it's just not my favorite thing.
Right. But yeah, that's a pretty. I'm waiting for your next invention, because that's so simple, but yet it's brilliant. Which I can't believe I just said that about you. I apologize.
I can completely believe it.
I'm going to apologize to all of the Carolina preppers for me saying that on the radio. But so you're an author, you're an inventor, and someday you hope to.
Good looking.
Well, I don't know. I posted that photo of you when you were in the military on the Prepper Broadcasting Network, and you look terrified there. I mean, you just look you. I guess you just look like you're scared of something's getting ready to happen. So worst case, Rob, you think something is getting ready to happen?
Hey, the Russians were coming. We were all going to die.
The Russians were going to come. Oh, awesome. Hey, so in the future, you got your writing, you're an inventor. Do you plan on putting out an album or anything? Can you sing?
I've got an album from back in the 80s. Play the accordion.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, that wouldn't surprise me with you. So your mom and dad.
I'm a good Polish boy from Chicago. What do you expect?
Okay. Yeah. So, well, man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking about your books and your invention, your tactical Molly, and I'm hoping people out there will see the, especially reading the books as well, because it's real life. There's not many real life books out there, and then your Mars Tactical mount it's so cheap. And it's so practical and it's so useful that I hope you sell millions of them, and then you donate that to me. But hey,
well, here, how about this? If I sell millions, you can come work for me making the millions, because I can only make so many at a time.
Oh yeah. Well, you would hire someone to do it at that time. You'll probably, I predict you'll probably sell the patent to someone. Someone will put out a device that they need that, and then they'll see that they could just maybe release you of that product and that idea. That's what you're hoping, isn't it?
That'll work for me.
That'll work for you. Well, Robert Bratyanski, is that right?
Bratyanski.
Oh my word! Am I not the only one that has a problem with this? Am I?
You are the only one.
Oh my gosh, you would say that. Oh. So hey, thanks for coming on, and we're gonna put all the links on the show notes on the podcast. You'll see the links on how to get to his Etsy store and how to get to the Amazon, his books as well. I'll have that out there. And hey, Robert, again, thanks for coming on. And I won't see you Saturday because I'll be out of town. But I think you signed up to go.
Yep.
But hey, I appreciate you coming on.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Hey everyone, that's man. What's some great information. The books are real. You got to read the books. I'm having Mark Goodwin coming on. Here on October 30th. He's from Prepper Recon. He's written a ton of books. His books are more on the polite side. He doesn't get in a lot of dirty details. I love his books. Don't get me wrong. I love his books, but but the fewer mouse to feed is absolutely more real. It is raw, and you should read them because it's an eye opener when you experience the gore that is really happening, and then and how people are reacting. But yeah, go to Amazon, buy his books, read all 3 of them. And I didn't even bring this up, and I'm surprised Robert didn't give me a hard time. I've read the first one, Fewer, and absolutely just, I think I fell in love with it so much because it happened in my neighborhood. The fingerless hand happens around this area as well, but it's like I don't want to mess this one up because I could imagine my son was one of the thugs in the car going to the YMCA, but it's in my hood. But go check out his series. Buy him on Amazon. Check out his Mars Tactical Mount. And I appreciate him coming on. It's a fellow, author, local guy, inventor. So, hey, I did mention, I know Mark Goodwin, October 30th from Prepper Recon is going to be on the show. He's written a few series. Looking forward to that. And hopefully Tenderfoot will be back with us next week. I need to sign Tenderfoot to a long-term contract maybe. I don't know. You guys tell me in the chat room or join our mailing list at preppingacademy.com, preppingacademy.com. Do a contact. Let me know if I should sign Tenderfoot to a long-term contract, which means I'll look at them and say, hey, you want to be on longer? So I was looking in the chat room, see if anything's going on. Tomorrow night, it looks like When Darkness Comes at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's on prepperbroadcasting.com. So prepperbroadcasting.com, every Friday night they have a live show, usually at 9 o'clock. Go to the website and you'll find it. But you can also listen, if you're listening to this via podcast, then it is live every night. My show's on Monday. If you're listening to it on podcast, Monday nights, 9 p.m. But there's a show every night on Prepper Broadcasting. They all go to a podcast afterwards. Some great people. I know Michael Klein, good friend of mine. I think I had lunch with him like last week in South Carolina. He does an excellent show on Friday nights at 9 p.m. So, again, join us next week. Tenderfoot will be back, and we'll have something that is more exciting than me. We'll have 2 people, and I get to laugh at him the whole time. But I appreciate Robert coming on, and hope you guys have a good week, and we'll see you later next time. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the Prepping Academy with your hosts, Forrest and Kyle, live on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Prepper Broadcast Network at prepperbroadcasting.com. We'll catch you next time on the Prepping Academy.
Today's broadcast has come to you through the courtesy of the Prepper Broadcasting Network. See our hosts, show schedules, archived programs, and more at prepperbroadcasting.com. Thanks for listening.
Has your data been hacked? Do you feel uneasy about the vulnerability of your personal information online? Were you involved in the Target, LinkedIn, or Microsoft data leaks? Don't know? If not, then pay attention. Join Forrest Garvin from PrepperNet for a free webinar on privacy and security. Gain insights into safe internet browsing, VPNs, crafting online aliases, secure emails, detecting if your data has been hacked, and managing passwords. Secure your spot today for this webinar on privacy and security. It's free. This webinar delves into comprehensive strategies for bolstering your online privacy. We've got you covered, from fortifying your passwords to shielding your financial information and mastering state-of-the-art encryption techniques. We're offering 2 convenient dates to suit your schedule. Reserve your spot now at preppernet.com/privacy. Don't let cyber threats erode your peace of mind any longer. Take the first step toward a safer, more secure online experience by joining us for our free webinar. Remember, knowledge is power when it comes to safeguarding your privacy. Sign up now at preppernet.com/privacy. We'll see you there.